Well, welcome back to Core Motivations Podcast. Hey, I'm your host, Michelle Connolly. I'm a certified Enneagram coach and a Symbis marriage coach. Perhaps this is your first time joining us. I'm so happy that you found us. And for those returning, I am excited that you have committed to growth through this podcast. I love spending time with each and every one of you. And with that, I have a big favor, or maybe it's not. It almost seems weird asking, but we want other people to gain access to what we do here on Core Motivations. Can you, if you haven't already, hit the follow button and leave a review? Okay, enough of that. Thank you, though. What do you think of the typing session with Chat GPT? I found it very interesting to be able to have what seemed to be a normal conversation. Did I spark your curiosity to book a typing session? I sure hope so. You can start this process with a free assessment, which you can find on my Instagram page, or I'll post it in the show notes of this episode. And then what you can do is send me a DM. Email's good too. And we can talk about what's next in your Enneagram journey. So last time we were together, we talked about experiences with AI and how that change can be good in some ways and not so much in others, which leads to our next discussion. So let's spend a little time talking about how to navigate change and transitions. So let's get into it. During last week's typing session, we experienced what you could expect in a typical session, and these sessions help get you towards determining and discovering your Enneagram type. In last week's case, Chat GBT discovered their Enneagram type, which was a type 5. I don't know about you, but what I know about Enneagram types, I'm really not surprised. We learned a lot about the type 5. But you know what I'm going to say, don't you? Say it with me. There is always more to discover. We're going to set out to look at change, or what happens to an Enneagram 5 and 6 when experiencing change. And if time allows, we'll look at 7 as well. We'll see how it goes. In order to see things in a little smaller scope, we are going to look at what's called triads. Now, we've talked about last season, but I'm all about refreshing our memory. I don't know about you, but I need help with my memory all the time. Wait, what were we talking about? I think I need to retrace my steps. Such silliness. Okay, I'm back on track. Triads are a subdivision of the Enneagram system, and it's based on the way each type relates to reality through 3 differential centers: the head, the heart, and the gut. And type 5, 6s, and 7s are in the head triads, or the thinking centers. I want to reiterate, these are what some people do as a type 5 and 6 in some variation in regards to change. And if you find this to be true of yourself, let me just encourage you to use this time as an opportunity to learn, as self awareness, and an opportunity to give yourself grace and ask that of others around you. And I also believe that it could be your level up moment, recognizing that I do this behavior or action. And on the other side, I can find a new healthy way to overcome my current process of navigating life's situations, especially in regards to change. So, type 5. What Enneagram type 5s do when change is in the midst. You see, 5s seek security through detachment and knowledge. They're driven by a need for understanding, often looking inward or to pure data. We saw that a lot with the responses with ChatGPT. So changes can cause a person to react to uncertainty, vulnerability, defenses, fears, and desires in specific ways that are specific to type 5. Boy, I sure said specific a lot. You're welcome. Fives react to uncertainty with detachment and withdrawal. They often feel that they must know everything before sharing their insights and fear, even feeling incompetent. Fives react to uncertainty with detachment and withdrawal, often feeling they must know everything before sharing their insights and even fears, and feel incompetent. They can portray this calm exterior and yet inside have this inner anxiety, causing a deep sense of panic due to a perceived notion that their control is being threatened. So, what about their why? Well, their why is explained through their core fear. This is the part that, motivates them to respond to change. And they do so through their core fear, which is being annihilated, invaded, or even not existing, being thought incapable or ignorant, having obligations placed upon them, or their energy even being depleted. So, this can cause defenses such as the sense of threat of autonomy and resources. This feeling that the world around them will take away their energy, knowledge, and privacy because change demands more resources. Maybe you can relate with that. So, how do we help a type 5 adapt to change? Or even further, how do they adapt to change? Well, remember, mindfulness is one of the key successes to change. A mind is like a parachute. It doesn't work if it isn't open. Remembering to get out of their head by doing some sort of physical activity to create a grounding and physical presence. Sometimes when I'm struggling and I'm not a 5, I can relate to this and will take my shoes and socks off and rub my feet on the carpet. And it helps me be grounded and back in that moment. They can also do so by balancing solitude and connection. So while it's important to have your privacy 5s and space to process, it's also important to share your perspectives and accept help, remembering you don't need to handle everything alone. And ultimately, their core desire is being knowledgeable, capable, and competent because their trademark is intellectual curiosity. I love that. They actually have a trademark. So when change comes or is being experienced, perhaps maybe you have a 5 in your life, whether it be personal or work, you can show support through asking how and what questions, such as, how do you feel? What are you learning from this? And how can we tackle this part together? And we can also support by showing up and showing true interest in their passions, going a step further and asking them to teach you, and of course, provide security. You can do so by letting them know that their need for withdrawal, it's actually self-care, not rejection. So that's type 5 when experiencing change. Shall we look at another type? I think we should. Let's. How about type 6? What Enneagram type 6s do when change is in the midst? 6s seeks security through connection, such as people and systems, but they can also rebel against them because they're driven by fear, often looking outward for answers. Changes can cause types to react with uncertainty, vulnerability, defenses, fears, desires in specific ways that are to that particular type. So, sixes react to uncertainty through vigilance and planning and questioning. And as we learned before, even through rebellion. So, their why. Why do they do this? Well, it's because of their core fear, which is a feeling of fear itself, being without support, security, or guidance, and even being blamed. This is their perspective. And they experienced a lack of support, security, and guidance from their childhood. That's where they learned not to trust their own instincts and even authorities. And this can cause defenses to rise, where they become suspicious and fearful. When making a big decision, for example, fear could look like a constant or endless seeking of opinions and advice of others, friends, mentors, or even online resources. Hopefully, not too much help from Chat GBT. Sorry, I support you, but Chat GBT, not always the right answer. See last week's episode. Helping a type 6 adapt to change. Well, we can remind them that they can press into building self trust gradually through experiences that are new to test their capabilities and slow down those racing thoughts with mindfulness. And remember, mindfulness is one of the key successes to change, which we talked about for type 5. Ultimately, remembering that a type 6 core desire is having security, guidance, and support. When change comes or is being experienced, we can show support by being a secure base. And we can show up reliably and follow through on our promises with consistency between words and actions, which is crucial for building trust. And I would go as far to say that that applies to all situations and all people. We can also encourage a 6 to have self trust, reminding them of their skills and ability to handle challenges, helping them to believe in their own capacity. You can also guide them to listen to their own inner voice and intuition rather than solely relying on external authority. So that is a type 5 and a type 6 in change. Change can be hard, but change can be amazing. Change can open doors, heal relationships, develop new skills, and build on skills we already have, and so many more ways. Many say it starts with mindset. There are different opinions and ideas of how you can find some solutions towards change. And there are many doctors and podcasts whom talk about this topic of change and the starting point, which is mindset. I was listening to Mel Robbins recently, and she reminded me, and again, this is paraphrased, that when you set a goal, if you can't do the whole goal, and in this case, she was talking about exercise, which I relate to because I am on a new exercise journey. Well, I started it back in October. But what she reminded me was to not be hard on myself if I can't do the whole exercise. That everyone can find 15 minutes to do something. This is what helps move you forward. And she explained this all while doing a quick walk and planning to do her push ups right after. She talked about how she only had a small period of time but she knew that she had 15 minutes. And she talked about a changed mindset can help with your accomplishments towards your commitment. So 15 minutes can keep you working towards this change. I watched a video about Dr. Alea Crum, who is a psychologist, and she talks about mindset. You can also hear more about her through an interview on the Mel Robbins podcast. And look for the episode Simple Mindset Shifts on the December 20th episode. It's simple mindset shifts that transform your body, energy, and life. It's really good. Another doctor to consider as a reference in mindset equating to change is Dr. Carol Dweck, a Stanford professor and researcher who coined the terms fixed and growth mindsets, highlighting how a belief in one's capacity to change and grow over time impacts an individual's worldview and ability to learn. I love that. So when we change our mindset, change can happen. Change can take place. The things that we're trying to change and the way in which we do them don't seem so hard, don't seem so scary. Of course, this takes time and practice to change our mindset, but we are talking about change. I'll post the links to all these podcasts and videos and things in the show notes of this episode. We don't have to be afraid or intimidated by change. We just have to find what works for us as individuals to make that commitment to shift our mindset and take the first steps. That seems doable, right? Who looks inside awakens. Carl Jung. I think he might be an Enneagram 5. Well, I think that takes us to the end for today. We will revisit triads of other types, starting with type 7, very soon. And now, the legal stuff. This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute professional advice. This podcast is not a substitute for medical care. The materials, movies, videos, or books referred to in this podcast are recommendations only. The views expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the podcast host. That's me, or sponsors. Join me each week as we dive into all things Enneagram self-care ideas, self-love patterns and rhythms, share ideas from other reputable authors, doctors, and my favorite podcasters. A big thank you to you for being here with me today on Core Motivations Podcast. Let's spread the word about this little corner we call Core Motivations. So hit the follow button, share this episode with someone, and please leave a review. You can find me, Michelle, on Instagram at coremotivations_coach or through email, michelle@coremotivationscoach.com. So let me leave you with this. Until next time, and as always, I'm rooting for you.